guys, how's it going? This is Lindsay Schoolcraft here, all the way from Perth, Australia. I've been doing a little mini tour here and it's gone really well, and now I have a day off and I thought I'd get caught up with you guys on YouTube videos, so let's get to it. A question that was brought up on my Twitter, which I'll link below so you can check me out, is why I chose the harp. So I'll get into that, but I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you guys a back history of my journey with instruments and where I started, just so you can kind of understand my education and yeah, where I got going with this magical instrument you see behind me. But firstly, I just want to give a shout out to my girl Bryony. She got me this beautiful, it's called Australia's Girl Boss palette from here. It's beautiful, it's vegan and cruelty free. I'm wearing it on my eyes today, so Bryony, thank you. And I really like this. More to the collection, which if you want a video on that, let me know, dear Lord. Okay, so I've been playing instruments most of my whole life. It started when I was around 7 or 8 years old. My dad had taught me how to play a few chords on the guitar, and back then he was just kind of showing me what he knew, which was some Beatles and Eagles and Johnny Cash. I think Take It Easy by the Eagles is like a G chord modulated. It's really easy stuff. You know, and it was fun, and it's cool that I had that with my dad, and then he'd sing and play guitar for me. My dad's a very talented musician. So not his full-time job, but yeah, so that's what got me started. And then I just kind of fell away and I got interested in like other things in life. And then it came back to me in my teens. I had seen a live Blink-182 DVD and I thought, wow, that's what I really want to do with my life. And then I found out what a bass guitar was, because like, oh my God, there's another guitar that only has 4 strings. What is that? So I don't know why, I'm just gravitate to lower notes. I don't sing low, but I was like, I'm gonna play the bass guitar. Like, that is so cool. So for my 15th birthday, I say my musical journey truly started on my 15th birthday. My dad went out and got me a Fender Jazz, what was actually Squier jazz bass. It was like the lower of the line, more affordable, because like my dad didn't know if I was gonna stick to it, right? I didn't really stick to guitar. So got me that, and I started going to lessons, and that was the beginning of my journey. I didn't actually take vocals seriously till later, but we can talk about that in a minute. My music teacher was a local guy named Scott McClellan, who's actually was the same teacher that my drummer for my solo project, Scott Brinley, had, and now we live together and he's in my solo band. So you're gonna hear a lot of stories about how everyone at home is closely connected. That'll probably come to be through more videos. And I took it seriously for about 5 years. I went to lessons. It was a long time, but my teacher Scott taught me a lot of really cool things. He introduced me to like the Foo Fighters and Hole and all these great like 90s grunge bands. So I appreciate him for that, and he made me learn a lot of Green Day and Red Hot Chili Peppers. Things changed when I got out of high school. I had a punk band that had fallen apart at the time, and in that punk band I played bass and I sang. I blew out my voice really badly. I had to take, I don't remember which ones are the ones that like heal up, but I'm pretty sure I had polyps and not nodes, and I had to take a 2-month vocal break. And during that time I found a vocal teacher who became my vocal coach for the longest time. Her name's Jackie McIntyre. She's local to the Durham area. If you can get in with her, I'm pretty sure she's booked up, but if you can get in with her, she's the best and she's amazing to train with. She kicked my butt. She kicked my butt as a vocal coach for about, how long did we do vocals for? I started doing them seriously around the time of being 20, so she held me up till the age of 26. It was 6 years. And this does lead into the harp, I promise. So I kind of changed direction entirely in my 20s. I thought, you know what, my band fell apart and I want to do more of like a dark gothic rock thing. It's a little soggy in here. I'm in the Perth weather, so just the beads of sweat, just taking care of them. Anyways, so I thought, yeah, this is what I want to do, and she brought me to the piano. And I had a very long 6-year journey with Jackie. She was fantastic. She's like really super talented and gifted, speaks 5 languages, can sing and play the hardest classical pieces at the same time. She really forced me to be the musician I am today, and she put up with my many, hey, let's work on every song from Evanescence, The Open Door. So I appreciate Jackie for that. During my time there with her, I did do my classical studies on piano, and I was leading up to get into university. And she introduced me to folk music. She trained me in a lot. She showed me some soul, some, you know, we based all my technique on classical for singing. And she also helped me get through some like folk music, because the conservatory was changing for exams and they were incorporating a lot of folk and jazz along with classical. I definitely loved my pop music and my piano ballads, and that was like the fun piece I got to do around all this heavy training and boot camp. So when I got introduced to folk music, I found out about the harp, and that would have been back when I was around 23 years old. And I just thought it was like the most beautiful instrument ever, and then I learned there's folk harps and there's classical harp. So I definitely could not afford a classical harp. They're like a down payment on a house, like a beginner level one, I think is at around $20,000. You can get kids ones, which would probably be ideal for me because I have a serious case of smalls. And they're beautiful, but what I decided to do is I kind of had like my quarter life crisis then, I call it that. You know, when you realize, oh, I'm an adult now, I got stuff to do, and I took a loan out from the bank. Sorry, Mom. I know you're not about those things, Mom, but I'm sorry. Truth comes out. And I went and got a folk harp for around $2,000. And this was probably in 2010. So I was gearing up to go to university. I was studying at the conservatory, and I bought my folk harp, and I moved in with my partner at the time. It's the first time I lived with Scott. Scott's not my partner again. Scott is my drummer, who's also my roommate, who owns the house that I currently live in, and I lived there for 2 years back in 2010 till the end of 2012. So I was really intimidated by it at the beginning. It was so different from piano, like everything's on an angle, and you know, it was a lot. I had to like learn how to play it like this, and I was so used to playing like this with the piano. You can see there's a really cool piano back here in the Airbnb that I'm staying at here in Perth. Anyways, I was really intimidated, and I tried, and I at the time was working on my first solo EP. I grew away from my local bands, and I'm like, I need to be solo because there's just so much I want to do, and I'm sick of waiting on other people. And my saying in life is no one wants your dreams as badly as you do, and I just decided to be the strong, independent black metal woman that I am, and went out on my own. And on that first EP, Rushing Through the Sky, which I don't know how much longer it's going to be available, you should probably go on my Bandcamp and pick it up. It's free to download. I'm probably going to take it off with the release of my solo album coming out this year, just a heads up. Where was I going with this? Man, I hate that when I derail my thought process. Yeah, I was putting it on my EP, and I admit that I actually programmed all the samples on that EP. I didn't even play the harp live on it. Actually, no, that's a lie. I played like little bits and pieces of the harp, but like it wasn't that good. It sounded better programmed because my technique was not there. So, you know, up until 2012, I was like, oh, I'm gonna take this seriously. It's gonna be kind of my stress relief around university. The end of 2012, I was in my first semester at university. My major was classical vocals, my minor was composition, which I wanted to tie into conducting orchestras. That was like the goal, and then if that didn't work out, become a high school teacher. But I always had goals because I never knew if this was all going to work out, and lo and behold, Cradle and snatched me up at the end of 2012. That's where the problems began with me not being able to progress and learn the harp as quickly as I wanted to, because I became a full-time member of Cradle Filth. It became my main focus, which I've been doing for the last 6 years. So I was like, okay, like I want this, you know, anytime I was away from tour, like, sorry, I wasn't touring and I was at home, I was focusing on the harp, but it was difficult because I didn't have a harp with me to practice, and I lost a lot of my technique. I'd like get it, and then I'd lose it, and then I'd get it, and then I'd lose it, which was very frustrating. 2014 rolled around, and I learned about the electric harp, and at the time my manager's like, well, if you want to get one, let's try fan funding. And thank you to many amazing fans. That is why I have this beauty here today. Her name is Lilith. My folk harp that stays at home is called Harpy. Not very original, didn't think that one through. Anyways, it doesn't matter. And I have some exciting news. I have a little travel harp. I think it's like about this big, waiting for me at home. that I'm gonna get modified and bring on tour with me, and that's like so exciting. So that's a story for another time. Maybe we'll do a little vlog about that later. So I got this harp thanks to my fan funding. The fan funding was done at the end of 2014, 2015. It took a long time for them to make it custom and all that. It showed up in the mail middle of 2015 when Hammer of the Witches came out. There is a song on Hammer of the Witches, Walpurgis Eve, which is Cradle Filth album, that you can hear my harp composition on, that I worked on with our drummer, Marthas, and I'm really proud of that. And I think that's like, quote me if I'm wrong, super Cradle fans know, so I think that's like the first time harp came back since like The Principle of Evil made Flesh. There's an intro on harp, which I would one day love to play live, so fingers crossed we get that worked out. Mind the kids in the background, the walls are like paper thin here. Anyways, so going into 2016, I was approached by a very big name that I'm still keeping secret, but the secret will be revealed later this year, to write my solo album, and they love that I play the electric harp. And on my solo album, there's going to be the electric harp, and it's very much influenced by Korn. We put some chorus on it, and it's just gritty and beautiful, and I love it working with the guitars. And that was my vision. I wanted to do something electronic with acoustic instruments. I mean, I love distorted cello, I love Apocalyptica. I love seeing those carbon fiber, weird electronic cellos. Delay, who's in Antiqua, which is my black metal project, she plays it, and it's just the coolest thing in the world. I have future plans for the electric harp. There's so much more I want to do. I want to help evolve the instrument. So talking about lessons and stuff, there's this lovely lady by the name of Lauren Hill, not the Lauren Hill, but Lauren Hill from Ontario, and she gave me one lesson, and she kind of called me out on my technique, and I'm really trying to get better. I'm sorry, Lauren, I'll call you for another lesson soon. And I kind of treat the composition and how I write for the harp like the piano, which I know is like super incorrect. There's a Twitter account called Harpist Problems, and they totally knock like piano players for treating the harp like the piano. And I'm sorry, it's my accompaniment instrument. I'm just trying to live my best life and do the best I can with an instrument that I'm approaching in my own way. And I feel that we need to think outside of the box and do things differently to evolve music and evolve instruments. So there's that. You know, I'm gonna go home and keep progressing, and I'm gonna get this little travel harp and bring it on tour, even though it's like 2 octave. That's more than enough to keep up on your technique, and I'm very lucky that this situation came up. There was another thing that was asked, and I will touch on it briefly. You know, what was it that really inspired you to play the harp? And that was definitely Bjork's Vespertine album. It's one of my favorite albums ever. I listen to it every Christmas. I haven't listened to it really yet this year because I came to Australia and it's hot here, but when I get home it'll be snowing and like -20, so it'd be perfect. It's kind of been like my little hug to get through the miserable winters in Canada. I just love that album, and I love Bjork. And then there was another question. People had asked me if Amy Lee from Evanescence was an influence to play the harp. No, I've wanted the harp way before I even knew Amy Lee was going to pick up the harp, and I've been definitely ridiculed and called like a poser and a copycat in that sense. Yes, Evanescence is my favorite band ever. Joke on this tour has been, I'll tell you they're my favorite band ever, but I won't try to convince you they're the best band ever, because the whole best band ever thing is just personal to one person, right? It's how it is. Definitely Evanescence has been a huge influence on me as a musician and my education and growing up. I love Origin, I love Fallen, I love The Open Door. You know, all of a sudden I saw Amy Lee playing like a classical harp on a late night show when she did a cover of Tim Burton's Sally's Song for the Remade album, which was great. I love that album. And I was like, damn, I definitely look like a copycat. You know, I haven't really seen her do anything with the harp since. I know she played it again on like a Sirius XM podcast. She did, I believe on the last album that came out in 2011, there's a song called The Secret Door, and my memories are really bad right now, and she played that live, but I've seen snippets here and there of her playing her classical harp, but I haven't seen anything. She did the Synthesis tour, and someone else is playing the harp. It would be cool to see Amy Lee play the classical harp. I think we need more harp in the world, definitely. But this is just something that I wanted to pursue, and a lot of people that came to my Australian tour dates and saw me playing the harp probably heard a lot of my Irish accent come out in my singing, because my best friend is Irish and my dad is Irish, Scottish, and it's more in my Canadian accent than the French or the Newfie. It's definitely from a place of love of folk music and learning folk music on vocals and on the harp is where it started. So, you know, Amy Lee, if you ever watch this, like, girl, get back on that harp. What you do is fantastic. And it'd be cool to play a harp duet with you one day on the classical and the electric harp. I think there should never be any competition. There should be nothing but love and collaboration amongst people, and I think that would be super rad. Okay, so that's it for why I decided to learn the harp. Thank you for tuning in and watching. I will link all my social media below so you can find me. I think I'm gonna start calling this series Fanswers, like answer to fan questions. And I'm actually gonna leave the comments disabled because there's a lot of negativity on YouTube. And if you really feel that you wanna come say something to me, you can contact me on Instagram and Twitter and we can discuss it there. So yeah, that's it. And I'll see you guys in the next video. Thanks for watching.